Representatives and witnesses discussed the issue of transgender women participating in women's sports. It's a conversation that earned about 3.5 hours of back and forth. We've seen a lot of running at this station because riders know if they miss this train, they could be waiting a long time for the next one. Now the T says this is temporary, but hiring to fix the problem is slow. To do so, these students will be going through a 12-point checklist that'll include fixing seat positions, making sure seatbelts work properly, and adjusting mirrors. Good morning, Sarah and Jordan. I'm at Traditions Plaza on MU's campus where survivors will have the opportunity to share their stories later tonight. Good morning, Jordan. Some parking lots for Tiger fans are opening at 1 p.m. today, and that's while a lot of students are still in class. In addition to battling the flames, firefighters also had to battle this, navigating around these outdoor dining spots, raising questions about public safety. The event will run through Friday afternoon as well. If you want to get involved, United Way encourages you to call. That phone number should be up on your screen, and you can find it on our website. Live in Jefferson City, Delaney Tarpley, KOMU 8 News. Evie and Emily, Adam Mace is set to be released from this correctional center in Jefferson City any day now. It's a move made possible after the legalization of recreational marijuana.
Mr. Mays, it's Justin. The judge granted it.
It was the phone call that changed 33-year-old Adam Mace's life.
Awesome. Yeah, dude, thank you so much, man. Thank you.
My pleasure. Congratulations.
You're my favorite person.
Mace is the first Missourian to be released from prison for marijuana-related charges since the state's legalization of recreational marijuana.
I always said I'd make history. I didn't know it'd be this way. I didn't know my vision was so far in the future.
Mace was caught with about 3 ounces of marijuana as a 17-year-old and put on probation. 2 years later, he pled guilty to involuntary manslaughter for a DWI that resulted in a death. For that crime, he was sentenced to 13 years, which he completed in 2020. Since then, he's been serving time for that simple possession when he was a teen. Mace's attorney, Justin Ortiz, applied for his release in December, and a hearing Thursday morning confirmed Mace would be coming home.
It's been a long road, but definitely a good ending to a long road.
Mace is excited to get out and see his old friends, and he wants to catch a game.
I want to go to a freaking Chiefs football game. I love my Chiefs, and I've never been to a football game. Pat Mahomes is so awesome.
Mace isn't the only one who can get out of prison for a low-level marijuana charge. To learn about the requirements for early release, we have details on our website, KOMU.com. In the studio, Delaney Tarpley, KOMU 8 News. Evie and Emily, representatives and witnesses discussed the issue of transgender women participating in women's sports. It's a conversation that earned about 3.5 hours of back and forth.
Ignorance wins out.
Emotions ran high on the hearing room floor.
There are boys and girls. That's what there are.
3 bills were filed that would specifically ban transgender girls from playing on girls' teams at schools.
The goal of this legislation is to make sure biological girls have fair access to scholarships and opportunities without having to compete against athletes perceived as having a biological advantage. If a school allows a boy to play on a girl's team, they will lose state taxpayer funding.
Politicians citing biological differences between the sexes.
Men, as has mentioned before, have a better bone mass. They generally have stronger muscle mass.
Overall, the state is set to hear 9 bills affecting the LGBTQ community.
We've never seen a day like this.
Missouri is currently leading the country in pre-filed anti-LGBTQ legislation.
There are more bills filed against trans kids in the state than are currently playing sports.
Some representatives saying bills like these contribute to LGBTQ suicide rates.
The rate of LGBTQ youth seriously considering suicide is 45%, so 1 in 2. And research shows that's because of things like this.
But those opposing say it's about what the majority wants.
Is there any time, maybe, where the needs of the many have to outweigh the needs of the few?
In a press conference earlier in the day, a message of hope shared among LGBTQ advocates and youth. Also slated to be discussed tonight are 3 bills that would ban gender-affirming care for transgender youth. One bill would also ban drag performances in public spaces. Live in Jefferson City, Delaney Tarpley, KOMU 8 News. Julie, there are a few limitations for those who get a license. Those include keeping the cannabis plants in a locked, secure location and keeping them out of sight of the general public. Also, there can be up to 18 plants at a time, but only 6 of those can be mature plants. Nevertheless, I spoke to one store owner today who told me his customers are excited and full of questions.
I go and introduce myself and start talking.
Jonathan Barfield has been running Grow Buddy's garden and hydroponic supply for about a year.
I was like, what exactly are we trying to grow?
But recently, his customers are coming in with different requests.
At that point, Paw, which was 5'6", whips out his phone and shows me his 9-foot cannabis plants.
It's a plant that's about to become legal for just about anyone to grow, and not just for medicinal purposes.
I anticipate that we will have in excess of 100,000 personal cultivators in Missouri within approximately a year.
Barfield says he's encountered many who are excited to finally be the ones in control of their own cannabis.
There's no question of what actually went in versus what the dispensary shows you on a slip of paper.
And there's a benefit beyond their own product being typically less expensive.
It has a much greater degree of personal satisfaction, and they like the product better.
There are still a few requirements applicants have to meet. You have to pay a $100 application fee and be over the age of 21. But Barfield says when it comes to marijuana cultivation, age is just a number.
You would be surprised. They're the Meemaw and Pawpaws of the world, just now coming out of the closets to ask the questions that they have been unable to ask for many generations.
Questions that can now be answered. The Department of Health and Senior Services will start accepting those applications by February 6th at the latest. I was told it should only take a couple of weeks for them to review those applications, and then they'll start sending out those electronic licenses. In the studio, Delaney Tarpley, KOMU 8 News.